happening? Oh,
What's happening? I'm on the Facebook Live saying hello
Oh yeah,
to the
cool.
people, telling
Nice.
people that the show is beginning. You can go over to YouTube Live to join me and Michael's in on the live stream of consciousness. We've got a guest tonight.
That's
Find
me.
out- Yeah, find out more. Anyway, see you later. Come join us over at the thing or on the Rocky SMS channel on Twitch. Links are about. Peace.
What is up, my friend?
How's it going?
You should do that like a minute before we start.
A minute before we start. I don't know. I
Yeah.
thought it was always like exciting to do, but see, but
Well,
you
you
know
could
what?
keep it live.
I don't. I don't know exactly. Yeah, I guess that's what I should do. What I should do because I don't know how to wrap it. I'm just like, oh, maybe they're like whatever.
It's all
Yes.
good.
Note
I have to.
taken.
I have to start the stream like a minute before so people see what's going on. So welcome everybody. Hello to all the regulars. Holy moly, they're piling in.
Welcome. Oh, hello, Taylor. Hello, Angela. Hello, Michael. And
Yeah.
Kiss Freak 123. Love seeing you here.
Yes, they're
True King of the Monsters. Just saw the Invincible
nice.
finale. Ooh, I haven't watched it
Ooh.
yet. I'm excited. Ooh, I'm gonna watch that later. Ooh, cool. I am excited. So how's it going, Michael Zinn?
It's going amazing, man. I am super pumped for tonight's episode. This has just been like growing exponentially in my head, and like as far as like the story we told a couple weeks ago about Mackenzie, how it affected her, and the show like has these ripples.
Yeah.
We had another viewer reach out and tell me how the show has affected her. And Janet, hello. She's just been inspired by some of the messages that we talk about and the things that we do, and it's really great to feel it coming back. I never expected any of that. So thank you to all the people out there who listen to the stuff we talk about and resonate with it and feel it and get it. It's all very, very cool. But I've been busy and I've been excited. I prepared a very nice introduction for our guest, inspired by you from the last time. I did not prepare a good introduction. So I'm excited to pull that all off and see how it goes. And it's actually it's kind of like some production stuff. I got some pictures, I got some stories, and I'm going to introduce them. So what about you?
Nice.
How was your week?
My week.
Hello from Oklahoma.
My week has been a continuation of what I've been dealing with, a little anxiety driven in my body. I think I talked about last week. I've been like a little bit like on edge, but towards the end of the week I started to get some things together and get some things organized and had some money come in and like a whole bunch of things that like made life easier.
Cool.
And so I'm feeling better. And tonight I'm doing like a deep meditation ceremony after the show. So a
Cool.
heart opening thing. So I'm excited about that because
You just got a nice congratulations from Angela.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
why don't you talk about that?
I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
I went finally to the doctor this morning.
Okay.
My osteopath, who's like, basically he's like a doctor who like will like look at you and get your body balanced. And he's very like, he's witchy. He's like a psychic. I've had so many different people work on me over the years, and I'm really big on observing what's going on while it's happening, so that I'm like, I get it. And so often when Dr. D's been working on me, I'm just like, what the just happened to me? Like because he just is like, all right there, you see? And I'm like, oh
yeah, that's cool. I saw a doctor who was like, I could feel where the problems are and stuff energetically. They work.
So he got into my neck and it felt really great. And then I felt like it was maybe like
What's up,
coming
Janice?
back a little bit. I'm getting like a headache again, but I'm trying to stay positive. It was really nice to get a little bit of attention. And he said really that my body looked really good and in balance. So that made me feel good about doing more, being more active.
Awesome.
So that was really cool. And then I guess the cool thing of the week, and I don't know, this stuff it's weird for me. I don't.
Oh, come on. Enjoy it, man. It's worth
It's
it.
so hard for me to enjoy, even though it's like something that matters to me on some level. But I mean, really, like, I
On
I
every
s-
level.
I speak through my music, and
Exactly.
being being knowing that people are listening to it is awesome. But I won an award for my best heavy metal single in South Africa. My producer and co-writer lives in South Africa, Michael Naranjo, and he's a pretty big deal out there in his echelon. And we got nominated, and we got they called my name or whatever last night, I think, and
Cool.
over in South Africa.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird. I'm just like, I
Why is
just
it so weird, dude? What's so weird about it?
well, because to me it doesn't mean anything, because I don't care unless people are listening
But
to
it's a
the
little bit
song.
of validation that people are listening to it. Is that it reached some level of something, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that whole song, that whole album is a great story. How you collaborated with Michael over the internet, basically, or just through collaboration. And I mean, before
It
even
is. I got
you
this
know,
like this thing, and it's terrible too, because it's like I kind of got it from my dad, where he had these beautiful albums that he put out, and I know he viewed them as failures because nobody heard them. They were still great. And just recently I got him listening to his old record, and he was so excited about it from listening to it.
that's awesome.
He called up Joe Franco, his drummer, and was like, "Widowmaker, it's so good, man." Because I was going, "This stuff is so good," and I
That's
was like,
great.
you can't let yourself feel like it was a failure or whatever, because like, the audience wasn't, it didn't find an audience.
Exactly.
But it's like, but at the same time, it really does, when especially just for me, I can't speak for my father, because I've never asked him this question, but you know I communicate through my music. And for me, like, being able to write songs was like an opportunity to be able to be my best self, like gather myself together, and like, here, this is
Hmm.
what I think. What do you think? You know,
Yep.
and that conversation, um, you know, I've always wanted it to be as big of a conversation as it could be. And because I've chosen to stay independent and not sell my soul, it's so often the audience has been kind of small, and kind of humbling when you are just like Babe Ruth out there swinging for the fences, and you're like, oh, I got on first, you know and that's
It's so
really
funny because I'm watching you talk about it, and the aspect of the whole thing that you're talking about right now, like you're saying, is you're so uncomfortable with it, and I can see you struggling with it. But here's the thing: the aspect of creating it and doing it and being it, you're so comfortable with, and that's why it's so good. And don't even worry about this aspect
is
of it that you're
you
talking
see,
about,
this is totally Jesse
good or
therapy right
bad.
now.
I mean,
Jesse therapy. See, but this is the thing. I need to
Jesse
get
therapy.
My Michael Zinn dose every
Yeah.
once in a while. But because I'm literally like there's a part of me that's like ashamed to share the information.
That you won an award?
Yeah. Like, I'm like,
Come on, give me a break.
I know I'm not really like a big deal, but they
Dude,
gave me this award.
that's why the show exists, with
It's
your energy, my energy together, just creating stuff. Come on, man. All right, let's not dilly-dally on that stuff. It's great. Your award, congratulations. And actually, the cool thing about the award is that the video was also a collaboration. We shot your part in my living room, sent it over to Mike in South Africa, and he put it together with video of the guitar player who was in a different spot, and everybody was in a different spot. It was during the COVID,
yeah.
and it's a great story, man. Don't
Yeah,
be
and I can
ashamed.
say
Be proud.
Michael Naranjo, my co-writer and producer, he wants to do another video in honor of he wanted to do it already, because he's been suffering from a lot of PTSD. He
Hmm.
just started doing transcendental meditation. That's been helping him a lot. He's doing
Oh
really
wow.
good. And transcendental meditation, so consciousness. And I've been, he and I have been friends for a long time now, so we've been having these conversations. And he had spoken to me at a certain point before. He was like, I'm thinking this, and I was, just very encouraging, of course. and he's doing better, and so he wants to do something for Help Is Coming on post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Cool.
And Ira Black already said he was down to
Oh,
be a part.
awesome.
The only bummer with it is just like I always see, this is the thing, I have these gigantic dreams, and then like
Issues? You have issues?
I have to scale them down, and then I feel very heartbroken because like I have this vision of Help Is Coming about basically me handing Logan, me dressed as an old cowboy in the West, and Logan dressed as an old, girl in the old West, and me handing her a rusty shotgun. And as
You
I
have a
sing
vision
this
for a
song,
music video.
yeah, for the video, like in this
Gotcha.
ramshackle house, and I hand her this gun, and because the whole
Why
story,
can't you do both?
well, I just don't, I don't have the capabilities to do what I want to do, because what I'm about to say, listen for a second.
I'm listening. All right, go ahead.
The story of that thing, because I'm really proud of this, and it's a
Cool.
It's a beautiful little spiritual, message, of just that help is on the way, and a lot of people feel like, oh my God, I need help, and like, where is it going to come from? But like, it will come. It is there, and the song ends on like a cliffhanger, but it's got this whole story about hold the door, bunker down, don't let anybody in till I get back, load the gun, don't be surprised when they attack, help's coming. And the second verse is even worse. It's like, don't you give them the satisfaction of your tears, they'll soon arrive, pray they're delayed, if you can hold them off, you need not be afraid, help is coming. And then I had this vision of this door just being blown apart, just bullets like flying as Logan is just sitting with the gun, and like bang, 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 bang. All these bullets are just, and you just don't know. And there's these shots of me with the cavalry on horses, and we're coming. But where are they? And there's all these guns, and you never see the guys. You just see her in the house with the bullets shooting through. And
do we have any animators out there? Maybe somebody.
I know. I've been thinking, is there some way that I can do it with, like, I don't know.
Listen, you know what? That's what this show is all about.
That's what I wanted to do.
This show is
so
Help Is Coming, man. We're going to gather resources. People will come to us.
It's such a spiritual message and video, and I really wanted to do it justice. So I don't know. I got to think about it a little bit more, but we'll see. I'm excited about that anyway.
Listen, there's no reason. I had this conversation with a friend of mine. There's no reason why, as an artist, you put out a song and you put out a music video, you can't put out another music video to that song.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
Today's show is about self-esteem.
Oh, Jesse therapy.
I know.
Listen, whatever works. It makes an interesting show. I think it works.
It's not Jesse therapy. It's Jesse in a room with Michael Zinn. I only get so much access to you, and then sometimes I'm like, I'll save it for the show. It'll probably be helpful to others.
Cool. Well, yeah, that is, what, here's something funny. I was actually like, oh man, this show is so cool. The fact that we're affecting these people. And I was like, this is what we should call the show. It might be backwards. Is that backwards? No, it isn't. I'm like, let's call the show Ripples, right? And then I started working in Photoshop, and I made this graphic, and then I was like, that's really gay. not that that's a bad thing, but I'm saying, like, the two of us, me and you, Ripples, Anyway,
Michael,
I digress.
Michael, can you animate it, like computer animate it?
Of course. Oh, you mean your video?
Shooting the door?
I'm not an illustrator. You need someone to draw those things. That's very custom. But somebody is out there. Somebody's out there. Help is coming.
Help is coming.
We just put the call out to the universe.
I believe.
Maybe somebody even answered this in the. I haven't even been looking at the comments. So
the comments are coming so fast. I can't keep up.
Yeah,
I love you.
There she goes. You won't get it if you don't put it. It can totally happen. Put out the intention. Where'd you learn that one?
I know. What an asshole!
It's great. It's like a mirror.
You tell me.
The whole thing is like a big mirror. It's amazing. It's so
I know, but I know shit.
Oh boy. All right. So listen, we've been catching up for 15 minutes. Let me start my introduction.
Okay.
All right, because we have a super cool guest who I know can can talk, and I
I
love
did
having these
homework for this
great-
episode.
You
as
did.
well.
Awesome. You know what? It's really cool. I put homework out for everybody. I put out some links to some of Russ's work, and already got some feedback. People like, wow, that's really intense. So Russ did a film that we'll talk about that's very spiritual. I want him to talk about it. But I met Russ. Let me see if I could share my screen here. I'm going to put a couple of things up here. I met Russ on the set of a movie. A friend of mine had written this story, and it was like one of his first forays into filmmaking. And Russ played the main character, and he blew me away. I was just like blown away by his performance. Hang on, let me see. Share screen, window. Here it is, Bullfied. So, Steve Sage, our buddy Steve, you know Steve. He was a filmmaker at heart, and he had been running a bagel store for a long time, and decided, you know what, I want to do filmmaking, and this was one of his early films. Russ plays this guy who was a bully as a kid, and is trying to make amends, and then gets involved in this serious situation. Maybe I'll put some links out. You guys could watch it. But
The Steve Sage film, I know that guy.
But man, what an amazing performance. And I connected with Russ on some level. You know how like you connect with people's vibes. You don't even have to be close friends with them and talk to them all the time, but you just like being around them, and you kind of feel it, you know?
You mean like you and I?
Kind of like that. Well, this was the first thing that we did together. And then I had opened up a photo studio, and he came to do some photos, and we did some cool photos with him, some like
that's a great one.
Actor style photos.
That's great.
So
man.
that was a lot of fun. And then this was another one that we had done. Another couple of photos. And then I said, Russ, how do you feel about getting naked? We had this boudoir set. And he was cool with it. He's so cool. So we did.
He's
this
like, I'm an actor. I can act nude.
We did this, you know, and that's what's so cool is like he's an actor. And look at this shot. This is about this guy who struggled to give up his teddy bear, and finally was able to put the teddy bear away. And look at the emotion that we got out of Russ. I mean,
I don't think I ever gave up my teddy bears.
That
might be the problem.
I love it. And then the last one is there was this local house in the neighborhood by the studio that was abandoned. And so I said, I got to take some photos there. So we had him, again, he's an actor. So we had him play this character of like this hillbilly, get off my lawn kind of dude.
He looks too clean, Michael.
Oh yeah, we didn't put enough makeup on him.
I gotta dirty him up.
So that was some of the photography stuff that I did with him.
Great stuff, man.
And
you're so good.
Oh, listen, I can't do this stuff alone. You know what I mean? There's so much, and that's what's so cool about this stuff. I look at this stuff, and the energy is so apparent to me that it's like this. Everybody involved.
He's a good model, and you don't always have a good model.
Yes. So the next thing before I get to him, which we're almost there, it's raining here. I hear some thunder outside. Is another short film that we did with Steve Sage that he actually wrote, and it was just kind of like it was like a project for everybody to exercise their craft and create. It was just a great exercise, and this is a still from that movie. This is some of I was trying to design some poster stuff, and this is another still from that movie. And I'm going to put up some links. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that right now. Let me unshare this. I want to show that next. I'm going to unshare that. That was some of the homework that I gave. And I'm going to share a link in the... Oh, God. Sorry, I can't talk and produce it. I mean, produce and be on the show at the same time. Here's a link. This is a link for what you just saw, some stills. Oh, you shared some links there, Steve? You shared the lone link? Cool. What's up, Stevie? Nice. So Stevie is sharing some links in the chat for me. So guys, please, if you can get a chance to check out Russ, check him out. I'm going to share one more thing, Russ. I see you itching back there to get up here in the green room there. I just want to share one more thing, which is
now you've overdone it.
I have overdone it. But listen, we have a show. I mean, we might as well do this kind of stuff, right?
No, and it's comedy when I get to say you've overdone it.
That's true too. So this is my favorite. Definitely, I was talking to Russ today. Definitely top 5 in my favorite in the under 1 minute category. So this is a very short piece. If this doesn't sell you on Russ Camarda as the world's most amazing actor, I don't know what will. But here we go.
How big is your heart? Is it big enough to love? Is it big enough to care? Hunger is one of the leading causes of early death around the world. But for just 10 cents a day, you can help feed a starving child to a hungry monster. Every year, millions of monsters die of starvation around the world. When you donate, you can help feed a starving child to a hungry monster in need of love and nourishment. When you sponsor a monster, you not only get the joy and satisfaction of giving life in the afterlife, but you get a picture and a letter from the one you're helping the most. So start today and give to sponsor a monster. You'll be glad you did.
My favorite part.
It's amazing. Where the fuck am I? Oh my God. Oh my God.
And by the way, that is exactly what you're doing when you give to any charity but Rock Against MS. You're just sponsoring monsters. No, I mean the big ones. I mean the big ones.
Funny. We just made Steve Sage
thank
cry.
you to Rock Against MS for powering the live stream of consciousness.
Oh.
And thank you to Michael Zinn for preparing such a fabulous introduction for Russ. And without further ado, may we bring the man on?
Absolutely. Here we go, a little drum roll. Russ Camarda. What's up, dude?
How's it going, sir?
Wow, can you hear me? Is my audio checked okay?
You sound wonderful.
Okay, yeah, that's a tough one to live up to. That is like,
dude, that is you. That is all you.
And Russ, even more than that, like, you know, when you're doing like a spiritual show week in, week out, you got to show up even when you're depressed. So like, you got to like undepress me. What do you got?
Well, if the Gooligans sponsor a monster didn't undepress you, I don't know what. I
mean, you know, just the tone I felt for those monsters, and I feel like nobody donated, and I feel like those monsters are probably still hungry.
What's amazing is you found that. I don't even know where you found that, Mike.
You know what? I got to give a shout out to Sean King. He's the guy who actually produced that for me, for you or for him, and he gave it to me. I think I have a link for that somewhere. But we just watched it.
I just wish the monsters were scarier.
Yeah, well, if anybody's ever seen Sean and that whole crowd, the guys who do the Gooligans, that whole series, that was, I mean, that's some great,
amazing,
original Kens. It came from the radio. I think Taylor. They all said they thought it was hysterical. Cool. Thank you, Steve, for helping out.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. I haven't been paying attention to the chat and bringing people up there. I'm sorry.
Now, I watched as well the taxi ride with Jesus.
Yes.
And you know, you got me, of course. I feel like I'm a little bit of an easy mark, though.
Tonight, you're soft tonight. So
you got everything's been getting me, man. For the past couple years, because I've been feeling like kind of so vulnerable with like divorce and certain things. Like I have been avoiding dramas, and dramatic movies occasionally find me, and I'm like, it's the perfect storm.
I knew that would get you. I knew it would get to you.
His child.
That's great.
You know, like, and I'm just weeping like a baby, which is I knew I would, which is why I was keeping myself away from these damn drama films. But they keep finding their way to me.
That's what happened. That's what happened.
So, and that's what happened with your movie.
What's up, Jackie?
When did you do that? Talk
about it. Talk about it. Tell us all about it.
Well, you're talking about, it's a short film that called Taxi Cab Ride with Jesus, which should tell you everything you need to know in the title. And we did that last year. That whole project was my buddy Dan Brennan.
It's not preachy other than the fact that it's Jesus and God. So if you don't like those words, I wouldn't recommend it to you.
And here's the thing. I mean, Dan, who I've known for 30 years, came to me with that idea. We've done a lot of things over the years together, a lot of feature films and a lot of writing together. We started in the theater together, so we know each other forever. And he came to me with this idea. We hadn't done anything in a long, long time creatively. And he's like, what if we did like a cab ride? Like, what would a cab ride with a famous historical figure be like? Let's do something like, and just goof on it. And he's like, taxi cab ride with Hitler. No, that's not going to work. Taxi cab ride with Lincoln. Oh, that might be good. And then he just went away for a while.
Great.
He goes, okay, I got it. Taxi cab ride with Jesus.
Awesome.
You're Jesus. I'm the cab driver. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. I was like, let's make it work. But then as we started to develop what we wanted to talk about, I mean, Dan is Irish Catholic and he's brought up that way, but he's really not full out Catholic churchgoer. And me, I'm nothing. I'm sort of, if anything, I'd be.
But it's rich storytelling, a place to tell stories from.
You got to watch the movie.
That's a good question.
How much did Jesus tip? It's in there, man. It's an Easter egg.
But the whole point as we wrote it was the only thing he came to me with as a premise was Jesus is back for the night and he just wants to have a nice dinner and he's pissed off.
It was $5.
Yeah, that's right. And he's pissed off.
$5.
That was it. That was the entire premise. But then as he wrote the first draft and then I contributed and we went back and forth, we kind of introduced sort of our non-dualist philosophy into it, and it became more about
That's such a great question. Can I just say, doesn't that get to the heart of the thing? Because if you'd gotten that wrong, man, Jesus did 25%, 25%.
Honestly, what a testament, like really, between Lone and this one and what I was talking about, what a testament to you and what you're doing with your podcast, which we'll also talk about art, truth, and craft. Art, craft, and truth.
Truth, yeah. Either way,
right.
You want to it's fine.
Yeah. What a testament to that you created this just because this is what you do.
Well, and let me pitch it as being, it's really on the money in all of the spiritual medicine that is doled out to somebody going through a difficult circumstance. And I think it's a nice short film that anybody can take away something from, and anybody will feel connected to, in some fashion. So, if Jesus, words like Jesus don't frighten you, I highly recommend it. It's really great. And you did a great job, though. Everybody did. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, thanks. And that was the idea. Was you mentioned it before? We were not trying to preach to anybody. We're not trying to, pull out any kind of, because neither one of us have any real deep connection to that. It was just the character. That brings up certain thoughts in people's heads, and we could then use that character to kind of message through.
It was really well done.
If you watch the whole movie, it's consistent. That's my favorite part about it. Mm-hmm. There's never this moment where some amazing magical thing happens. Right. It's all about human self-reliance. Right to the very end, we make the point that it's your choice. You're here. You're just like me. If I'm Jesus, I'm just like you. I chose this. You choose this, and that's what creates the God and the world around you. And it's a different take on it, and it's funny. It's got some funny stuff, funny banter back and forth.
And that's why I thought it was relevant, like spiritually, because of the message. It was just kind of like very basic, I mean,
it's totally a live stream of consciousness sort of short film.
Yeah.
It's actually the first short film recommended by the live stream of consciousness.
I guess it is. There you go. Look at that.
As much as I had to do with it and everything, all credit to my buddy Dan Brennan for coming up with that concept.
Shout out to Dan.
He was awesome.
He is awesome. And actually I've seen a bunch of you guys, bunch of your work together. And it always comes through.
Yep. And I heard you talking before about the meaning of the award that you won.
Yeah.
That it didn't mean something. Meaning it gains its power if you put meaning on it. It's like it's your choice to attach or not attach to it.
Well, here's the thing, because this is kind of interesting, right? And I think me and my brother were maybe having this conversation the other day. I think there's a certain bit of, well, you get nominated for something like that, and then you go, well, I don't care. I can't care, because if I care, I might get my heart broken. And then if you really actually get good at doing that, when the thing happens, you're like, oh. It's kind of like using up your last. No, it's like the end of freaking The Mist when Thomas Jane shoots his son in the head, and then the clouds clear, and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't have killed my baby.
Yeah.
There was no reason for me to murder my child, and my innocence. Like, I could have maybe felt good about that. I think there's a part of it that's that, especially when you're an artist and you do care, so viscerally. Like, I do care about those things so viscerally, but at the same time, like now I'm like, And it was funny. Last week we talked about, me and my mom had like a really big kind of breakthrough moment, which I realized intellectually was like huge for me, what she was saying, but all I could feel was sort of like, yeah, that old thing. Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, I remember. Like, because I like calloused it with humor.
Yeah.
And now, like, I don't even really remember being mad or upset about it, even though I'm sure on some level I am.
Well, weren't you talking about transcendental meditation before? So you're a meditator, right?
I'm about to do a deep meditation tonight on this very subject.
I've never really practiced that meditation, but I guess the only lessons I was always told were, the thoughts are just kind of like, it's like you can't get rid of your thoughts. That's not the idea. The idea is to kind of just let them go by like boats. They kind of come and they go.
Clouds
so
I
would imagine you apply that. It's the same thing to.
I would have thought that you did meditate. I'm surprised to hear that.
I take too much notes of the boats.
Yeah,
in my earlier life, I've gotten used to being like, oh, boat.
It's so funny because Jesse actually knows all of the answers.
Yeah,
he just doesn't know which slots to write them in.
Where to apply myself first.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm working on that though. I'm like, my brother sent me this amazing book on it's like a crazy organization book, kind of similar to the way our friend designed his tarot cards, Brian, he made this book, for people to, just to help them. So it was a little overwhelming because it's like a big book and it's, every day is like mapped out. There's so many things. I'm like, but at the same time, I'm really excited to get myself onto a little bit of a diary kind of thing going.
Well, all this stuff is, to fit in with the theme of the show. Like you sent me a link a couple of days ago, Mike, or was it yesterday or something, with Joe Dispenza, the chiropractor turned philosopher, healer. But he has a great quote, which is, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. So everything is through this prism of our own consciousness, our own creation of our interpretation of the world we're in. So all these things that trouble you and twist you in the past and the present and all of the past and the future are all the present anyway.
Right. And it's all you.
It's all you, know.
It's all you.
It's just it's constant. Like, okay, let me just try and remove myself.
And listen, you know what? It's funny. I was thinking about this. Like, I'm a happy guy, and I certainly do have a nice, calming presence on people. But not every day is perfect, and even as much as I go around and I say life is great, even on those not perfect days, someone says, "How you doing?" And I do my best to say, "I'm doing great."
Right.
You know what I mean? And again,
I've switched it to good. I feel like great is bragging.
Kenzie was talking about intention, and really,
is great bragging.
Even having the intention to tell someone that's great, even if it isn't, it kind of helps make it a little great.
I say, just tell them it's great. but just don't let them dig up your yard, because that's when you find out. You find out the truth.
I want to start using more words. Like when people ask me, I want them to think I have a synonym finder in my pocket. I want to be like, excellent, majestic, gigantic, paramount, ludicrous.
That's an interesting goal.
How is it going? Vociferously. I don't even know what that one means. I'm not sure.
But that's how it's going.
Acquiescent.
That's great. So, Russ, I wanted to get you on the show because I love talking to you. And we do talk about this spiritual stuff all the time. But what is up with you? Like, what is next for Russ after this pandemic? I mean, I know, you work and you do video work for, your bread and butter. But what's up artistically for you? How are you doing? You've got anything?
Well, I mean,
yeah. You want to work together? You want to do something? Create something?
Look, somebody asked me this. I had somebody on my podcast last week. Another
podcast. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, well, that's always fun, and I did that just for fun. I'm not, clearly, I'm not burning up the freaking airwaves with that, because I think I got like 160 subscribers on that. So
man, you guys got to let go of expectations, man.
Yeah.
We have 18 people on right now, and I love each and every one of those motherfuckers.
I'm with you.
I'm grateful for them.
I just want to put things in perspective.
I get you.
I do it to enjoy it. But I had somebody on, another filmmaker. I was talking to him about art and craft of filmmaking, and he actually asked me, how do you choose your projects? And I was like, boy, if I was in a world where I was choosing my project, I was like,
right.
Whatever's next, that's what I do. You got something?
Right.
I'll do it. You want me to do it? I'll do it. So you want to work together? Absolutely. You tell me the day, I'll probably show up and be there.
Well,
But
I think in this day and age, if somebody's got a bug up their ass to do something, they will do it. And then the rest of the stuff is just sort of, it finds us, or, or if it becomes a thing.
I'm letting it do that. And as far as what I'm generating myself, like I said, I do the weekly podcast where I talk to artists of all kinds, musicians, actors, singers, writers, dancers.
Great conversations about.
And long form. I prefer long form. So like hour and a half conversations, really digging into the craft of whatever it is that particular person does. Jazz musician, actor on TV. I've had all kinds of different people.
You could have Jesse on your show.
I mean,
mine will be blown.
And we get really into the nuts and bolts of, it's not so much like a career retrospective, it's more like,
that's the only way to take down the juggernaut. You have to blow his mind.
Yes.
They rip off the helmet and then they send mind bolts into his head.
That's right. The Juggernaut. That's right. Holy shit. That's right. Yeah. Comic books, man. Absolutely. You're bringing back my childhood. So yeah, there's the podcast Art Craft Truth. You can see that on YouTube and every other audio thing too, Spotify and iTunes, all that shit. So look for Art Craft Truth with me, and you'll do some good conversations. So I do that every week. But as far as film stuff,
there you go. People can follow your stuff.
Only thing, yeah, thanks. That'll do it. You'll find all the links and stuff there. But as far as film stuff, the only thing I'm doing for my own personal heart is for the last several years, I've been working on sort of a cinematic poem, like a Terrence Malick type of film.
Yeah, I've seen pieces of it. Yeah,
and I've done each season, and I've attached sort of a through line through all the seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall, and it's sort of a meditation on what I think the life of the soul is. What our soul is, and I kind of attach it to each season, and different sort of aspects are attached to each season. It's, if you've ever seen any kind of Terry Malick film like Tree of Life or Thin Red Line or anything Malick's ever done.
Seen that, yeah.
It's that kind. That's one of my heroes. So I'm trying to do something very cinematically, very visual. So I'm actually going to shoot next week to finish it up. I'm going to do the spring version, and then hopefully cut that up, and I'll put that out. But that's only just for my personal thing, and that'll be
and that's what I wanted to know. That stuff is great. It's like, it's totally artistic. It's totally like
pure art, pure cinema,
passion. And you can tell where it comes from. You know what I mean? It's great.
It's just me. It's my writing, my shooting, just me and a camera out with an actor, or me and a camera by myself. I mean, the winter one is, that section of the thing is just me, and I waited 3 winters to get a good winter of snow, where I would just go out in the middle of the night with a tripod, set myself up, walk, set myself up, set up a shot, and it was just, finding days to get that I was doing. So that's what I've been kind of playing around with. And then the other thing I'm starting to finally write is my next feature, which my goal is, what is this? I'm 50. I'll be 51 in June. So by, 52, I want to be in production,
Okay.
So I want to finish the screenplay this year and get some really good people attached to it. And
Cool. I'm sure you will.
And I'm going to start coming out all over here and all over the world and every connection, and start finally asking for money, which I always hate to do, but I'm going to do it. So anybody wants to get involved with me as a producer, just know that it's coming. And next year, it's going to be my year to do it. So,
yeah, cool. Awesome. And I got no problem with people asking for money for something that they love, especially when they're not.
And I never did
ask for money.
I never do. But if people know me and have worked with me, they know that if I finally do decide to actually do something, when I do it, we're not playing around. So
yeah,
we'll get there. We'll do it.
Awesome. So I have this other show idea that I've been working on called Where You At, and that's what I just the only reason I'm saying it is because that's what I want to say to you now. Is like, well, where you at spiritually? We've talked about it before. I know you're not like necessarily religious like you were talking about, and you have more of like a spirituality edge, and
well, I'll tell you exactly where I'm at, and it took me a long time to get here, and Jesse can totally identify with this because I can see the vibe, and I'm the way he was talking before. I've been an actor in the theater and a filmmaker and all these things, and director of all different things for many, many years, but it's always been when I could do it, and I always have the other job that, kind of got me through. And for many years, I worked in the city. I was an office manager for this company, or a front desk manager for that company, blah, blah, blah. In fact, I used to work downtown, go uptown at the end of the day at 5 o'clock, go do Shakespeare, rehearse till 11 o'clock, take the train back out home, get home at 1 o'clock in the morning, turn around, do it again, come back to work at 5 in the morning, go back up, rehearse Shakespeare, do a play, blah, blah, blah. And I worked downtown, as you probably know, right across from the World Trade Center. So that's where I was on September 11th. I work, and I was one of those, people with the ash and all that stuff. So,
oh wow, I didn't know you had experienced that. No.
Yeah, that was one of those moments where. But my point is that all that time that I was working that and trying to be an artist and trying to do the other thing, I was a bitter, angry dude. I was probably not the most pleasant person to live with. I was married at the time. I was married for a long time. And probably not the nicest guy, probably just always, watch TV, you watch a movie, you go, I know I can hit 350 in that league. I know I can, why am I not, all that stuff.
Right.
And I had this clock in my head and my soul that was like,
I don't make it by this time,
and I never hit those marks, and that was my own fault. I just didn't do the things that are required to achieve those things. I didn't make the sacrifices. I didn't, it requires certain things and certain tenacity, regardless of the amount of talent you have. I just didn't do them, but it took me a while to realize that was all on me. And after a lot of tragedy and a lot of my marriage falling apart, and then the subsequent relationship becoming overly toxic and falling apart, and just terrible, what everybody goes through in life. And then hitting a certain age where, and especially in that one last relationship, where I saw in myself kind of the darkest, bitterest part of myself, the most resentful part of myself that I'd never seen before in 40 years before of my life.
Right.
And the subsequent 5 years or 6 years.
You were seeing it kind of from.
I was seeing it there. Yeah, I was seeing it, and I'm like, wow, that's a guy. I don't like that guy at all.
Right.
That combined with all the experiences I've had and seen, I think set me to that point where I finally was like, I shut the clock off. And it took me a long time to get there.
And now you're just you.
And that, and now I'm very I'm happy. I live very simply. I went from living in apartments my whole life to owning a house, and now back into a little tiny apartment. But I'm good. You know, I don't make any great living. I make enough to get by. I get to do my art when I can, and I get to work with people, and I get to talk to people, and I get to do the things I want to do when I want to do them. And gratitude and forgiveness is everything. And the great quote, forgiveness is the fragrance left behind, on the heel of the shoe of the shoe that crushed the pedal. It's like the pedal is forgiving the shoe. I fucked up that quote, but it's
by leaving the fragrance on it. It's
by leaving the fragrance on
it, but it's still leaving this beautiful.
Right. It's
right. Interesting.
If you can find that place in yourself and find sort of gratitude every day for.
How amazing is that place?
It's a great place to be.
It's an amazing place to be, right?
And it helped me get
what we talk about. Yeah, this is why we're here, man.
COVID. I had COVID really bad when it first came.
I remember. Yeah.
COVID 1.0, and it was,
COVID 1.0.
It was pretty fucked up. It was gnarly. It was not good, but you're grateful every breath.
Right.
Every breath after that. So I think spiritually, if you want to say where you at spiritually, it's there. And as far as structurally, I'm always been sort of a non-dualist. I don't believe in God is here, I'm here, you're there. It's all vibrational. It's all together. It's frequency and vibration, and you're just part of it. Right.
Well, luckily I feel like that's becoming more and more of an open conversation that people are having,
Well, it's interesting. Me and my brother Shane were talking today, and we're both sort of expressing how we went the way that we went because it made more sense for our family, like what our family did, and that we probably would have did this or that if we, weren't feeling like the energy of the family, and that largely we kind of like went into places that weren't necessarily the or weren't the way. Like I know I would have been an editor, not a writer. Being that the writer is like the front of the terms. I would have gone and been an editor, become a producer, and I'd been sitting pretty with a salary at one of these big film companies right now, kicking ass, making sure that they didn't fuck up the movies. And that would have been a really good path for me. As a writer, it's this stupid ego thing. This perceived ego thing, me as D. Snyder's son, extra perceived ego thing. And granted, it's all what you make of it, but like, I've always been really hypersensitive to that energy. So it makes, I'm not somebody who's like sitting there batting at the door the moment I feel like somebody going like, perceived ego, whatever. Like I was always running from that and just trying to do things that were, spoke to my heart. And then, it's interesting beyond that, me and Shane were both speaking of, well, there's this great picture. There's a painter who I forget their name, but they used to do these great drawings of like animals that didn't exist. And sometimes they were animals that were like close enough, and they had something that looked like bunnies, and they were sitting in front of this thing that kind of looked like a bunny. But if you look closer, you could see that it was the shape of a bunny on the face of this gigantic monster that was about to eat them. And so many of the industries that we grow up loving as children and we decide to dedicate our lives to, they are much like that pretty bunny face with connected to the giant monster. And if you really care about what you do, you learn about the giant monster. And then you're like, I don't want to work with this stupid giant monster. Shouldn't even be a damn giant monster behind the freaking bunny. Who puts a giant monster here? This is ridiculous. And I have to freaking deal with the giant monster because, well, that's how it is. And like, that's really like the world. So much of the way all this shit is done is it's awful. And like, and you get in there and you see how things are made and you're like, oh, well, this sucks. Now I understand why things aren't better because it's this all over the place. Like, and I've worked in enough different industries where I can tell you it's just the same thing over and over and over again. Especially when egos come into play, like if it's a job where ego is a thing, being an ego, on whatever level, it just gets worse and worse. High school never ends.
Well, a lot of that, what you're talking about, what that monster is what feeds it is your need for outcome. The monster lives on outcome. What is your outcome? So if you're, I always tell, when I used to teach acting very briefly, and it was like, look, if you want to be an actor, you can be an actor. If you want to be a working actor, that's a little different, but you can be a working actor. If you want to be a movie star, if you want to be a superstar, that's a whole other, these are different outcomes. It depends on what do you want, and each one has a different bill at the end of that dinner. Mm-hmm. So what it took me a long time to realize was, could I have been like, if my discipline was different, mm-hmm. my class, my contemporaries would have been Matthew McConaughey, Matt Damon, Ed Norton, Mark Ruffalo. These would have been the guys my age. Those guys I would have come. That's if I had been that disciplined and done those things, that's where I would have played. And I have no doubt in my mind, ego or not, that I could play in that league. There's no question. But I didn't do the things that would produce those outcomes.
Right.
It's on me. And my problem was I was angry about it. I was like, why didn't I get why those guys? And it's like,
right.
Dude, you had the,
Yeah. Listen, and it's not easy to like seriously and actually truthfully dedicate yourself to something in that way, because we have bills to pay, we have reality, and
other outcomes were important, and they take you in a life.
But the answer is, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Russ, but really the answer is, and we've got it here, because this is the spiritual message of a song I wrote called "Get Smart." It says literally, well, we got bills to pay, we got shit to do, can't just walk away from the tried and true. We got mouths to feed, and we pay our dues. So we must die. We'll probably die buried in IOUs. But Mother Ayahuasca said, no, the time has come to put the noose around your neck and have faith, and take a step off the block and believe that things are working out. Mm-hmm. And, I had a similar realization to you, Russ, with of the, in the acting thing. I mean, not for me for acting, but when it came to music and, and comic books, which was just,
thank you.
If I just do this for the love, it'll work out however it's meant to work out on its own. And I just need to stop feeding that monster of outcome, because I was always looking, sort of looking at how it was, and I now realize I was keeping it that way by, it's like when you forget the thing, like you're like, oh, I can't remember that guy's name. What's his name? I'll remember it later. And then you start talking to your friend. You're like, Tim. It was Tim. It was Tim. Ha ha.
What's up, Tim?
And life is like that with everything. The moment you let go, I had a girlfriend, and I kept getting the same message for her where she was dealing with weight issues, that she couldn't lose weight. And I said, I keep getting told the same thing, and it seems really silly, but you're supposed to accept it as it is. And I saw that she couldn't do that. She couldn't accept it as it is. Mm-hmm. And that was absolutely the thing that was like, the moment I went, you're supposed to accept it as it is. And I saw her, she went, no. Like, I was like, oh, well, this is it. And that is usually the thing. And I realized for me, sometimes my lack of acceptance of a situation, or letting go of a situation, is the way I've kind of conformed to feel about it, which is stopping me from fully letting go of it, because, well, you're not letting go of it because you've allowed it to make you feel like this.
Yes.
You really do have to go like, okay, all right, I don't want to, okay, how do I feel? Like, and not, kick that off, because it tricks you.
Yeah. There's a certain sort of comfort. There's a comfort and satisfaction in feeling sort of bitter about it. It's like, well, at least I own that.
Right. No, I think that's part of the conditioning. We kind of condition ourselves.
Let me suffer in peace.
It's the way it is. Yeah. But it was actually interesting. What was that? Sorry, Russ.
No, but past it. I don't want to go. I do things for joy now. It's like, if somebody wants to come look at my stuff, knock yourself out. You want to work with me?
You know what? It was interesting. Yeah. You were talking about it before, about how you would go to work and then you would go practice Shakespeare. Right. And really, what I was thinking when you were telling that story was, those are the moments you were going to be around the people that were vibrating the same frequency you were vibrating.
Right.
You know, you were going to be in that flow, you know, and I'm sure you wished you could do that all the time, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean that if I didn't have to go to work,
Right.
But that's the thing, you know. I did a podcast with a female guitarist, Alex Nolan. She was Cyndi Lauper's guitar player on tour for a while, and she's done a whole bunch of great guitar player. And she was saying about, like, there were like 3 parts of her life where somebody called her and said, "Can you get down here and to Tennessee and Nashville and do this?
Mhm.
Can you come down and meet Cyndi? We're going on tour next week, blah, blah, blah. Can you learn da, 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 da in 10 minutes?" And each of those times she said, because obviously she was young at the time,
Right.
but it helps, which does help. But I was young too. We all were.
Yeah.
But she made the decision, I don't have car payments. Yes, I'll be there. And that's the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know,
you've been there, you've had those moments where you were able to do that, you know. Right. You've experienced it, and me too. And you know what, I was just thinking, responding to what you're saying, like, I know so many people who are so great, like you, like Jesse, who have had these amazing experiences, and it's like almost like a little vicariously I can be like, wow, that's so cool, and I can feel that pride. And then I see Jesse like, oh, I don't know, and and I'm just like, dude, like, come on, like, and listen, it's so easy when it's you to be able to see it different than the actual person. So I get it, but man, I'm just so happy I'm getting to do this right now. Just like you're saying, Russ, it's like you got to be in the moment, and you got to you can't be bitter. Like there's no
has to come
reason to put energy into that.
It has to come from joy. You have to find joy in it and gratitude in it, and live in that place as best you can. Mm-hmm. And sort of, I mean, like I said, I always come from that sort of Alan Watts idea of, this is all a play. Mm-hmm. This is all a play. And we're the actor putting on the part.
Right.
And we're
it's all a play. Why are you in plays?
That's because we're, his great thing was always like, look, if you were God, right? If you were the universe, the omnipotent, all-knowing God, and you knew everything and could do everything, there's no novelty. There's no creativity anymore, which is what you are. You're a creator. So creativity has been lost. So what do? You start to trick yourself. You build virtual realities for yourself, mm-hmm. and immerse yourself so much so that you forget that you're God.
You know what? I made a meme of that. Remember the meme I made that was God with the Oculus on?
That's exactly what we are. You imagine if you got the best virtual reality, like, wow, you take the helmet off, you'd be like, wow, that was intense. Yeah. What can I do to make that even better? Then you build another one where it was like all the greatest adventures, and you slayed dragons and met all the beautiful women and blah, blah, blah. And you got out of that and you were like, wow, that was fucking amazing. Let's make it even better. And you'd keep making it so much better to the point where you'd be right where we are now. And you would have no idea you were in it.
We were just talking about that last week with my brother Cody. When you describe the world as a bunch of gods who don't know they're gods walking around aggravating each other, it's like, oh wow, yeah, of course, a bunch of gods who don't know they're gods and they're walking around aggravating each other. Totally, I get it now. Like, it really, like, it's not simple. It's a bunch of people who inherently know that they're very powerful and inherently know that they should be able to control a certain amount of their reality, but they can't. And they don't understand what's in the way. And ultimately, they do see that what's in the way seems to be the others. And they are what's in the way. But, it's why we must cooperate. That's why we must realize, that we're working from a place of oneness and become that, Christ consciousness, or whatever sort of way you want to look at it, of a one-minded thing. If you do something good, that's great. I'm so excited for you.
But what always baffled me, though, was even if you came to that realization, the question of, well, why? What's the point of playing this game so much so that you forget who you were? And I think what I came to realize is it's the fact that if you didn't, novelty would cease, creativity would cease. You need to question, you need to be the God who looks back at himself through ignorance to create new questions to answer. Otherwise, you have all the answers. So we're in this little game fooling ourselves to create new questions to answer and thus keep creating new worlds and new. That's why we do it. And that's why the actor does it. That's why the musician does it. And that's just a reflection of who we really are, which is this incredible being. And unfortunately, if you really want to take it to the deepest level, that's why nobody wants to hear that part. That's why you have the darkest parts, the Hitlers. There's a place for those characters in the play. And, they generate something too. Something for the hero.
You made me think of this. You made me think of, I'm not an actor, but I play one on TV.
Troy McClure here.
That's right.
So we're getting to our
we gotta wrap
hour
it up.
mark.
That was actually a great.
It was a lovely exchange and conversation. Russ, thank you as always for coming on the show. Do you still do your podcast regularly?
Yes, every week you can see Art, Craft, Truth. You can see the video version on YouTube, and you can listen to the audio version. Everything, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, all that stuff. Just look for Art, Craft, Truth.
Please enjoy Art, and please, Michael, if we can get a link up for everybody while we're wrapping up show. I'm gonna see maybe if we can get my my good friend Johnny Nell to come on the show. He's a musician and a psychic. And he's a former New York City law enforcement. Johnny?
No, I don't. But that I would really be fascinated to talk to somebody like that. But I wanted to tell you, you reminded me. I had on a few weeks ago John Hampson, who was the guy who he was in 9 Days, had that big song, Story of a Girl.
Story of a Girl, yeah.
Right? In the 90s, late 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, I know this.
He told a great story on my podcast about your dad.
Oh, yeah?
About what your dad did for him.
Oh, wow, really? I don't remember that.
How your dad, they met on a show somewhere and they had a great conversation. And then they met years later and had another, but it's a great story. And it was very inspiring to this guy about what your dad said to him, how he told him what was important about, because I think what happened was he was dating a girl. The story of the girl was the girl he eventually married. That's
my dad is pretty famous at this point, I think, for you know what the biggest part of it is? He is seen and is a stable guy. He's become a pillar of the community who is a stable husband. And to get some words from my father, I think means a lot more to a lot of these guys than it does, from other people.
Even back then, talk 20 years ago, this guy was so inspired by him, and had that baguette. So it's a great little story. I just reminded me.
Go check out the podcast, and thanks, Russ.
I put the link in the chat there.
We'll see next week, and what else we got to wrap up this show here, Michael?
You know what? We never really talk about your other show. I think we might have mentioned it. You've got another show.
Yeah, so we're working on some other shows as well. But we are crack-a-lacking every Tuesday night with two of my best friends in the world, literally like the people who I call when I need to laugh, Aaron Sparrow and Tori Ireland Mel, talking about pop culture shit. Just
Russ, you would like Tori. He's got a great film. I'll hook you up with it later.
Tori's amazing. Yeah. Tori's a great actor. Tori's great everything.
Not that you wouldn't like Aaron.
Tori's
also
one of my favorite people on the planet.
The film is great.
They are a wonderful group, and we just get into like the biggest, most mainstream pop culture stuff, from Harry Potter, Star Wars, and comic book stuff on down. But we know what we're talking about. We're hardcore nerds, and we love that stuff.
I'm not on the show because I can't keep up.
Well, you're there sometimes to tell us when
I pop on and off.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us for another live stream of consciousness. We'll see you next time.
All righty. Peace.